Y'all, Wizard101 just did something kinda nuts. They put out the live realm patch notes for Wallaru today on a Sunday, which means that Wallaru's coming to live realm guaranteed this week, probably Monday if not Tuesday. And while that's super exciting, I feel like I've made like a dozen videos and not even talked about everything. So I thought I'd go through all of the patch notes that they just put out for live realm and just talk about what everything, you know, that they're adding, how it's gonna affect the game. So to start off, obviously Wallaru as a world is dropping. The level cap is gonna increase to level 170, but I would argue that this update is actually going to do a lot more than just raise the level cap. It should really affect PvE and PvP. The big story of this update, in my opinion, is not the level increase, it's the actual jewels. They're adding new circle jewels that add tons of extra damage that you can access on any school. And that's actually gonna really change up things for a lot of the lower damage schools. So on my life right now, let's say that I had my Stompy Bronto mount on, my max damage right now is 200 in a level range where the max stats allows 220 damage. So in PvE, because I don't have any extra ways of raising my damage, I'm kind of capped off of just being on my school rather than the actual stat cap. But imagine instead of Pierce Jewels, I can add 10% damage or even have extra circle jewels that I can affix extra damage to with my Pierce. You're gonna be looking at a situation where every school can actually hit the max damage at the level for the first time in a really, really long time. So yes, you're probably gonna see like 230 damage storms running around, but you should also see for the first time ever 230 damage ice wizards, 230 damage life wizards. There's going to be a lot more stat flexibility in PvE. There's going to be damage that we just haven't seen ever before in a bunch of different schools. And similarly in PvP, all this extra access to damage will either make a lot of really, really cool setups happen where you have max damage for your school and then you optimize the rest of the space you have with your jewels into HP. Or you maybe give up some, you know, of your max stats for your own school, but you use the extra circle jewels for offense into a secondary school. Compared to how limited we are into dual schooling, like on a life, yeah, I can storm dual school and fire dual school or ice, and that's about it. You'll be able to dual school into anything now, and it's also going to be like easier to hit the max damage for those schools than ever before. They even added a pity system, so the actual grind to getting jewels and pins for doing off-school damage is going to be a lot less. Now the patch notes, they also talked about a couple of other things that I really didn't cover whatsoever, but something that they seem to really be putting a lot of energy into is this new gallery system that you can use with guilds. Now I don't really understand these, but it does seem like, you know, if you're into PvE, a reason to actually form a guild that hasn't existed until now. See, for I think a lot of people, they've kind of synonymized guilds with raid, but it looks like they're adding something where you can, like, you know, fight mobs in a gallery of sorts and basically use the drops that you get to upgrade your galleries. They're going to be adding new elixirs that you can use to summon more and more powerful bosses. It's going to use level scaling so any level can do it. And I think the idea is as you get more drops and upgrade these galleries more, you can get some really cool rewards. Now, they didn't specify the rewards in the patch notes, but it would be really dope if we can see gold keys, maybe spellaments, maybe stitch tokens, maybe elixirs. I mean, the list goes on for what you could do to make this rewarding, but considering that you need to be in a guild to begin with, I would assume the drops are pretty competitive. And by the way, the scope of the gallery is pretty huge. This might be the most time-intensive thing you could possibly do in the game in PvE that's coming in this update. It's going to hopefully go a lot beyond just what you're used to in PvE. Super underrated. I don't know if this is going to be like, you know, a really cool concept or a big flop. I guess we'll test it on, you know, on stream or something. But if you're done with Wallaru and you feel like there isn't, you know, anything else to do, this might actually be a reason to, you know, join a guild or form a guild and try something that isn't as, like, you know, intense as a raid. There's also a surprising number of changes coming to Beast Moon, which I don't know why they chose this update, but it's a lot and it affects things outside of the game mode itself. So this is worth listening to even if you don't do Beast Moon. To start off with the Beast Moon changes, they're adding a lot of super unique forms. They're adding a fairy with the 250 hit that can actually get a pip for cleansing a trap. That's pretty lit. That reminds me of the Storm Elf's best card, which is a bolt that gives them a pip for clearing a dot, but I feel like you'll encounter traps more than dots. So a potentially better offensive form than Storm Elf, maybe. They're also adding a new revive form for the first time since the Life Drake, which I think could be kind of nuts, you know, like it has like the little guardian spirit mechanics, but I would say a fairy's way less tanky than a Life Drake, so who knows if it'll really compete with what a Life Drake can do when it comes to support. And they also added a really powerful anti-blade form. Blades have overrun Beast Moon, they're just super meta, that's why storm forms are so good. And it seems like they've added a form that can steal blades into a drain, which is extremely powerful, and also just conditionally does more when you have a blade on your opponent. The Beast Moon creatures that they added this time, it makes it feel like they're really curating a competitive meta, which is kind of cool to see, because I feel like Beast Moon is super approachable, super casual, but it does need to be balanced if it's gonna have longevity. So I think maybe these are like somewhat close to balancing changes, because they see holes in the meta or weaknesses in the meta, and they're trying to add more creativity, diversify, all that. But even if you don't do Beast Moon, there's some parts of this update that are kind of relevant right now, right? If you have a Hasty Harvest treasure card, you use them on every Beast Moon Blossom the same. These Hasty Harvests that you get from doing Beast Moon are the major way that you get idols and other things in order to either craft spell elements, which are super relevant, or make new Beast Moon forms. And right now they cost 10 energy each, regardless of which seed you use them on. They're gonna start making tiers of TCs, so you can use lower tier TCs on less like, you know, like reward intensive, I guess, blossoms. So the really standard Beast Moon blossom should take a lot less energy to Hasty Harvest if you're gonna do it. And what I'd assume is that the really like, you know, like the School Moon seeds, the ones that give really good drops, like I guess you use the more, you know, energy intensive, like, you know, a Hasty Harvest. And with this change, they're gonna make spellment recipes instead of, you know, like let's say that you have the Moon Gold Dust, the idols, and the TCs to make a spellment. These recipes give 5 right now. They're gonna go up to 7. And you're also going to be able to transmutate in a way where you can maybe speed up the process as well. They've been adding a lot of spells to Beast Moon in terms of the spellment paths. And I'm not saying like something like Blizzard is something you want to do Beast Moon for, but something like Regenerate, that's PvP banned in its base form, might be something you want to do Beast Moon for. They're also removing flat resist this update, which means any spellment upgrade you do is going to matter a lot more, but other ones that you get from Beast Moon specifically could be like extremely better as you go up. So this change makes it easier to craft Inferno Salamander spellments, for example, which without flat resist, not only because, you know, you're upgrading a spellment, but because it's an overtime, this is going to be a way better thing to try to craft now than ever before as a fire. And I would argue every school has a spell like this in Beast Moon, so the fact that they're making it easier to craft is actually kind of a big deal. So the recipe is giving more spellments per, you know, Moon Gold Dust and all that. Like, it's still going to be a lot of, you know, time if you want to, like, you know, even like tier 2 it or tier 3 it, but it is a little bit easier, especially if you already have the resources to begin with. So that's kind of good. If they're gonna add all of these new spellments after Beast Moon's been out for a while, I feel like it should be a little bit easier to specifically craft one spellment that you're going after. So that seems to be what they're doing. They're making the Beast Moon meta a little bit more competitive, I think, and they're also making it so that longer term players have a little bit more control over the types of spellments and forms they can craft. Overall, y'all, this is a pretty full-fledged update based on just what these update notes are. I mean, PvP is gonna change. PvE might not only change a lot when it comes to the standard, you know, mode that you do, but also with the new things you could do in guilds, and even side activities like Beast Moon are becoming way more full-fledged and like updated. It's kind of nuts to think about, but hopefully there's something in these update notes for you. Let me know what you guys think. What's your favorite update? Let me know. What do you guys think is going to help the game, hurt the game? I look forward to reading all y'all's opinions in the comments. Drop a like if you enjoyed, leave us something new, and if somebody hasn't told you you're awesome today, they doing something wrong. So stay awesome, and yeah.